things could get a little crazy. But since Sienna was born, I had been scrupulous about taking my meds. I knew I had a high chance of postpartum relapse anyway. Without the drugs, it was pretty much inevitable. And I didn't want to go there. I was not, under any circumstance, going to go into hospital. Until I was. Before the murder. Monday, 3 days before the murder. If we're still here in 5 days, shoot me, I said to Sienna when the Uber dropped us off at Southside Private Hospital. I had to be back at work next week anyway, work being Yarra Bend, the forensic psych hospital. There was a common waiting area where sleep school clients and psychiatric admissions were processed together, and we sat there while the paperwork was completed. The admin staff seemed put out that I didn't want my surname anywhere except on the bill, but that was a non-negotiable for me. You don't need social media when you've got access to the hospital system rumour mill, and I was able to raise eyebrows in my professional capacity without any juicy additions. As far as these people were concerned, I was a mother, not a psychiatrist. "No fucking way!" A voice floated down the corridor. Someone was reading my mind. I peered past the nurse's station and saw a woman in her early 20s with her arms crossed defiantly. Pixie face, messy blonde hair falling out of a ponytail, an inch of brown roots. She looked like me when I got out of bed first thing for the daily standoff with Sienna. The chirpy nurse who'd welcomed me took a step backwards. "The unit manager has asked. It's an infringement of our rights." There was another patient there, this one slight, older, pretty in a pale, nondescript way. Her prim voice wavered from under the kind of neat bob everyone wore in The Great Gatsby. "My father's a lawyer," bad-hair Pixie added. "I know what I'm talking about." "Maybe." The nurse was interrupted by the arrival of a motherly figure with grey streaked-through dark hair, who I assumed was the unit manager. "Nikki?" She smiled at bad-hair Pixie with the air of someone not to be fucked with. "What seems to be the issue?" "She wants to search my room," Nikki pouted. "This looks like it's going to be entertaining." A woman had sat down next to me to get a better view of the frucker. Late 30s, solid build, gold bangles and wide gold diamond-encrusted rings. They looked like the real thing. "I'm Angelica," she said. "What do you reckon Nikki's up to? Drugs or porn?" "Who has time for sex?" I asked. "Could be sharp objects." Angelica raised an eyebrow, the sort you'd paid a lot for in a South Yarra salon. I restrained Sienna from poking her baby, who had to be less than a month old, and we both turned back to watch how the unit manager was going to convince Nikki to let them search her room. "Nikki, I believe you signed the contract with your psychiatrist." "I don't freaking care about any contract." Nikki turned to Gatsby Bob woman. "Phoebe, can they hold me to that?" "Perhaps you should call your father." Phoebe was looking flushed. There was an air of fragility about her. Good chance she had an anxiety disorder, I thought, and being involved in Nikki's crisis was unlikely to help. I reminded myself I wasn't here to treat anyone other than myself. "Let's talk about this in your room, Nikki," said the unit manager with a glance in our direction. She wasn't taking any argument from either Nikki or Phoebe as the nurse gently encouraged the latter into the TV room. The manager smiled at us as she came past, leading Nikki to a room at the far end. I felt like applauding. "Thank God I'm only here until Friday," said Angelica. "Sleep school?" Angelica nodded. There were 8 beds here, 2 of them reserved for sleep-deprived women looking for some magic, in this case, Angelica and me. The other 6 beds were for women, including fragile Phoebe and Nikki the bad-hair Pixie, with postpartum psychiatric issues. All voluntary, but it didn't mean some of the women weren't really unwell. I'd suggested Damien come, but of course he said no way. For a cop, he's soft and fuzzy, but he is a cop. Anyway, lack of sleep was...